started this company thinking, you know, it's going to be a part-time job, and somehow this company sucks us in, and we stay here for, we're lifers. So we started out in the automotive department as an installer, and I guess that's where the love of cars probably came from.
That's it, yeah.
And, you know, quickly moved to the trainee program in 1975. And, you know, very quickly getting the first management job in 1976 in Prince George. Were numerous roles in over 13 years in Prince George. I opened up one of the most important stores in Canada. And that's where a lot of us, that's where I first met Dave. I always said he hired me, but I think Doug forced him on me, on Dave. But, you know, from there moved to South Center. Again, first time, I still remember being transferred. I came from Lethbridge. And, you know, there was me, there was Holly Mader, we came up from Lethbridge together, and so we meet Dave for the first time, and he tours us around this store. For this building in Sears, that you'll be sadly missed, but we all wish you all the best in the next chapter of your life. So, cheers. So, before I hand it over to Mr. Saville, because I'm sure he's going to take a half hour.
No surprise. I heard you burned the shredder out. David Riche. I've known Dave since I got here in July of 2002, and I heard that Dave was the operations manager when I was coming here. So when I met Dave, I found out, as Chad spoke to, how loyal and dedicated he was and how many hours. 18,001, and Dave spent a pile of time on that. And then ISO 14001, so that's safety and environment. Boys and Girls Club, and Stu does the lion's share of the work, but somebody had to pay the bills sometimes. Some of the money was raised, and the guy paying the bills and figuring out how we were going to hide the money in the 150 was Mr. Rich, because he is a master of the books. If you're not aware, the things that go on around this building, for those of you who worked here and those of you who participated, the Boys and Girls Club, the Tree of Wishes, the staff picnics, the Christmas dances, kids' Christmas party, associate recognition, and we had a whole page, an umbrella, and then a truckload of activities. Somehow we had to pay for those. And I was always the one saying, let's do it, and Dave was always the one reminding me we have to figure out how we're going to pay for those. So he always... We are not very formal or traditional. Most people use some exercise or something to stand up and break the ice. We used a fart machine. So, and if you don't know what that is, it's a remote-controlled machine that we had placed under Lyle Littlemore's chair, and the quietest guy in the room, and it broke the ice. Let me tell you, it broke the ice. That night, after the first day, and it went so well, we decided to go. Our hotel was attached to the keg, so the leaders and us ended up at the keg, and Dave had to start the morning off at 7 in the morning the next morning, and it was a tough start. Dave, I don't know if I've ever seen you that that was a tough one. It was. I actually felt bad for Dave. He was at the podium and he was going. I thought he was going to pass out up there, but it was fun, and we kind of set a precedent. And it was kind of what happens in Banff stays in Banff. A lot of you folks who still work here are going to, in the summer on a hot day, you're going to get a popsicle. In the winter, you're going to get free coffee and hot chocolate. And somebody had to pay the bill. Our social fund, and somebody had to pay the bill, and it was always Dave. So all of those things that you take for granted, he was involved in. We led in almost every KPI that Sears had in logistics, and that going about them, we soon found a way to get out on the floor, and most of you who still work in this building will know that Dave addresses you by your name. He knows your name. He finds out something about you from outside of work. And he was very dedicated. We played the name game how many times, Dave? Oh God, we'd walk by somebody and said, "We knew that name yesterday, how come we don't know it?" And we played that back and forth. We had rhymes and different things, but we were dedicated to getting to know everybody and to know something about them, because we valued the folks working here. And the Hawks helicopter was flying over our building, and there was 9 police cars and vans and Jeeps in the front yard. And I came in, and Dave stuck his head out of the door, and he goes, "Get in here." I said, "I just went for freaking coffee and a bagel, and half the city police force is here." But anyhow, That's because you hired Neil and Estelita. And Dave and Lorraine have always been, up until last Saturday night, we celebrated Dave's 65th over at Dale's house with our dinner club, and Dave sent me an email and said, do you want us to come by and pick you up? Because he knows I like to have the odd drink, or the odd drink and more. So, and Lorraine is always there to drive us if we need her. But I just wanted to reminisce on the first Christmas dance that he offered to pick me up at the pick us up, and we went to the Legion. And so it was a cold winter night, and he must not have drank that much because he was driving, and I found out where Langdon was. Across the Glenmore Inn, I was like 3 blocks from home, and I ended up in Langdon in a snowstorm. For those of you who do take in the kids' Christmas party and the picnic and all of the different functions that this building does, you've seen Dave, you've seen his wife Lorraine, and you used to see Kim before she had her own family, out here and helping with the kids, behind the scenes, setting. There's a number of people that do this, and it's Dave's day, so I'm not going to recognize the rest of you, but there's a lot of time and effort and personal time, so everybody could just show up and enjoy that day, whether it was a picnic at Bowness Park or wherever it was, whether it was a hot dogs for the kids at Christmas time or face painters or whatever. And I mentioned about paying the bills, but you always saw him, and you almost always saw these 2 young folks here. So I'd like to recognize them for that work. Just to wrap it up here, I'll say Dave logged years on conference calls, always represented us so well. He was always ahead of the game, and I spoke to that before, and the best prepared, and he always took quiet satisfaction. And I saw it because I got to know Dave really well in being one up on everybody else in the Sears logistics. And Dave, that was so appreciated. Dave came from retail, I spoke to that, and I said I broke him in, but we converted him to one of us, and we found a sense of humor that was actually real funny. Dave was loyal, sometimes to a fault. I've never met a harder working individual than Dave. I think you can all attest to that. Dedicated, he was dedicated. Passionate, tenacious, driven, and a true friend. So Dave, from me to you, thank you very much for those years we spent together. Close, Chad.
I got it right, or?
I got a note when I came up. So I'm not going to talk about all your quirks, Dave, just a few. So I've worked with Dave for over 14 years, and I've gotten to know him not only on a professional level, but on a personal level. I was with him in Banff that time, so it was shocking. Derek thought he was going to have a stroke out there, but I could, throughout the years, I could tap on Dave's knowledge about anything, or just use him as a sounding board, as he was always able to coach me in the right direction. And 42 years of service is quite the accomplishment. Don't you agree, Ronald?
I was going to look up your middle name and I forgot.
For those of you who don't know, he signs his name R. David Riche, so his first name is Ron.
That's my parents' fault.
But it's spelled the Norwegian.
It's a Norwegian spelling,
Yeah.
So
Because Chad and I went to the bank the other day to change over the signing authorities. The bank manager said, okay, so we're taking Ronald off and adding Chad. All of a sudden, Chad just, what the hell's wrong? So, now Dave focused on 2 main things since I've known him. Number 1 is the customer, and number 2 is the health and safety of everyone around here in the facility. In particular, with the health and safety, Dave has put into here.
that's more important.
So, and to keep him honest, Dave is going to want to be rated. So, because he likes discipline, is that true? I have, okay, hair in a can, mostly on the wall, not on Dave's head. So, signs of sometimers running through the neighborhood with no pants, chasing ice cream trucks.
You forgot the number 3, I forgot.
Oh, I just did a couple. Now, I asked my daughter to make a special cake for you.
No, my son Maureen's.
So, and I gave her a picture of you to do on the cake, and I think she nailed it. Because she did a character, and does kind of look like Ned Flanders.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So that's for you to take home
Thank
and
you.
share with the family. Just a number of us did get together, Dave, and we got a gift for you.
I'd like to thank my family. Because I've been the absent husband, the absent father. You know, I've dragged them through BC and Alberta, and without them, I wouldn't have got here. I thought back over the last couple of years, or the last couple of weeks. I was reminiscing about what Sears was 42 years ago. And so back then it was called Simpson Sears, 42 years ago. I started in 1973. I was a long hair, I did have hair. I had sideburns down to here. It's every SKU, a page for every SKU up on the floor. And the gals in that office used to go on a cycle, go up and count the merchandise, paper clip the page, the book would come back down to the office, someone would manually write up a purchase order, and it would be mailed, Canada Post, to the source. When that merchandise came in, it had to be ticketed. The garden accessories from our garden shops. We sold bulk candy and tobacco. There was always a shortage in inventory in Canada, or in candy, and yeah, I think I know why. We sold paint, tires, batteries, and even CB radios. We even sold rebuilt motors for your car, and we installed them in our auto centers. We sold guns, ammunition, boats, and outboard motors. We sold vinyl records, some of you may not know what those are, 33 RPM and 45, and we sold 8-track and beta. We even rented videos, SVN, Sears Video Network. We sold sewing patterns and fabrics. We sold wall-to-wall carpeting and lino. With my wife, my daughter, son, and my grandchildren. So, I'm sorry I'm emotional, but thanks so much for making all my time at Sears so very, very special. I'll miss you all very much, and again, I hope to see you around because Calgary's home. Thank you.
Very much. Dave, Chad talked about some of the young punks at South Centre, and I was one of them.
The
So
biggest one.
IGMs, please don't listen, but yes, and Dale's smiling for some reason. But you know, so many things have been said